Hello, Watson number one. Alright. Hi, Ale! We're gonna do this Roottrees mania so I can get more of my achievements that I'm missing, and also find out what happens in this new mystery, apparently. That's fine, we've done it. We're gonna do slot 2. Watson number 2. 2 Watsons. 2 bananas. Who is this?
Hi.
Oh,
I'm
Clark.
Probably not who you expected to be knocking, but life's funny sometimes.
I recognized his bald head from his picture. Was not expecting that accent.
You've done well staying anonymous. It took us a while to track you down. A lot has happened in the last year. Far too much of it public. But there's stuff going on behind the scenes, too. I never wanted to be president. I'm not great with stress. With my mother's deteriorating I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here because part of the fallout of Sam's book is that everyone's coming out of the woodwork. Now that it's public knowledge that Clancy Trust covers any Roottrees despite their history with us, a lot of potential cousins have surfaced.
Oh.
You may have seen that man on the cover of News Time. It was a disaster for us.
Oh, let's remember that. News time.
And then Miracle went and made it all about himself.
That's not surprising.
The long and short of it is, a lot of potential cousins just showed up. Sam's helping some of them, but she's not really going about it the right way. And she's not taking calls from anyone in the family. I let it slip through a mutual friend that I found you, and I was stopping in. It's manipulative, but I'm hoping she'll reach out to you. You can let her know I'm on her side. In the meantime, if you're willing, I can share our files with you. Pass them along to Sam if she reaches out. I'm genuinely hoping she'll realize I'm an ally. Feel free to do your own research. I've been told you enjoy things like this. To each their own.
Can I play this book now? Give it to me. No. How am I supposed to complete the family dokus? Unbelievable. Okay. Possible infidelities 3. Oh, okay, so that's the family tree. We did all that last time. And now these are all of these affairs and infidelities. Oh my goodness. Possible infidelity 1, 2, 3. And a family tree update. Wow. This is crazy. Okay. Notable events. Today is August 3rd, 1999. It's been 8 months since you helped Sam Madsen with the research necessary for her book. Sam was true to her word and paid you an incredibly large sum of money. She never mentioned you by name, however, so you've managed to keep a low profile. The Roottrees, on the other hand, have not. Below is a summary of notable events since the book's release, though you can refresh your memory in full detail by searching online. 6 pieces. Sam Madsen's book about Elias Roottrees was released in February. It was a bestseller for a few months. At the time, Carl had not yet been replaced. The Roottrees Rift. In March, the Roottrees Company stumbled publicly as they attempted to respond to the book's release, with multiple conflicting press releases and a clear lack of leadership. Clark Rafferty LaRue. Clark was announced as the permanent successor to Carl Roottrees and welcomed Sam Madsen to the family officially. The company hired an outside legal group to handle the changes to the Clancy Trust. This included any other new questions of lineage. 5 Ps. After this announcement, there was a rash of different people claiming to be Roottrees, mostly dismissed as opportunists and scammers. The highest profile of these, by a wide margin, was a rapper named Felix Fellows, who changed his moniker to 5 Ps as a publicity move at the same time. Five Ps is the only notable person on the updated tree. Rootree mania. In another high-profile misstep, Miracle Rootree publicly and vehemently denied that 5Ps was a Rootree. The Rootree's legal team then offered to do a DNA test to get 5Ps to drop his claim, and in a moment that caught what seemed like the entire world by storm, the test proved he was a Rootree. Suddenly, the world was obsessed with the Rootrees. Anonymom and Jane Doe Rootree. In July, an anonymous woman, who the press began to refer to as Anonymom, appeared in interviews with her face and voice disguised. She claimed that an affair with a Rootree led to the birth of her daughter, aka Jane Doe Rootree. If true, this would make her daughter yet another secret Rootree, and therefore entitled to a share of the Clancy Trust. Nobody knew it at the time, but this would turn out to be the last chapter in the Rootree Mania saga. As more and more of Anonymom's story came out, people began to notice how much it echoed 5Ps in nearly every significant way. The court of public opinion began to turn. Confirming the world's suspicions, the DNA test, orchestrated by lawyers on both sides, proved that her daughter was not a Rootree. This final event caused public disappointment, smugness from doubters, and countless accusations of the entire ordeal being an elaborate hoax or attempt at fraud. Things got a bit ugly, and the fun of Rootree mania seemed to disappear overnight. Now, a month later, it feels like a distant memory. Okay. This is a new investigation with a new focus. After many months of newfound interest in the Rootrees, it's recommended you try to catch up with some of what happened since last time. Some web searches may yield new or different results, and some books and magazines from your previous investigation may be relevant to your new one. It's also a much more widespread search. The list of first and last names you can choose from will contain red herrings. Not all of them will be used. Below is a reminder of some of the most notable beats of your initial dive into the Rootree family. All evidence from before is still available, and for your convenience, any searches that do not lead to new information still function as they did during your first investigation. The Rootree Candy Company was... Okay, yeah, we know about this. Most of the action took place in or around Butler County, Pennsylvania, where the company was initially located. Elias, Carl, and Raina were on the cover of magazines. Other notable Rootrees, such as Lauren, Miracle, and Jim, had physical media, such as record, albums, books, and movies associated with them. Lauren's 2 diaries were probably the most useful resources overall, mentioning many of her relatives directly. The 5 Ps, I think this would mostly be if you're, like, coming back to the game after this, like, DLC released. Oh, hi! Hi, Ray Ray, I'm so sorry. I did not. Let's see. Hold on, sorry, I'm catching up on the chat now. There's Ray Ray coming back. Watson number 3 has arrived. The whole mystery gang. Oh, I love that. Clark was being a vampire in our doorway. Oh no, that's the worst, Ray. Not being able to choose something to buy. Alright. You guys figure out who's everybody. Okay. Yeah, alright, so that's nothing new. Today, August 3rd, 1999. Oh, okay. Here's the letter that we were handed. To both of you, the company I hired to help us with the Clancy Trust is busy pouring through... That's spelled wrong. through the entire family's history, as well as people that they may have had contact with. That said, the family is not particularly happy with this, and are doing their best to slow things down. Many of them are actively avoiding our interviews. Every time there's a high-profile public case, it causes headaches. So please, I don't mind if you do your research, but I ask that you stop going to the press. Instead, we have a highly trained team of lawyers to back you up. We're ready and willing to verify anyone and everyone you believe could be realistically part of a relationship that led to the birth of a new root tree. Just tell us who to investigate by filling in the sections of the tree, and we'll take the time to handle verifying that the timelines check out. But keep in mind why we're here. If someone didn't have a child, or has already been disqualified by our lawyers, like in the case of the girl with the negative DNA test, there won't be a place for them on the tree. We're not just looking for affairs and infidelities. We're only looking for the ones that led to potential new root trees. Some spots in the new section will be marked with a tree icon. Those areas are reserved for members of the original family tree you filled in 8 months ago. Just like last time, be sure to use birth names for everyone you add. Married names or nicknames won't be enough. To start sorting out the infidelities, I recommend you turn your eyes to the men in positions of power. You don't say. I'd love to say that's only because it would have been a lot harder for the women to hide 9 months of pregnancy and birth without the family noticing, but I can't. I'll be blunt. I'm no stranger to infidelity. I wish I could claim that I was a perfect husband, but you've seen the family tree, so why pretend? Some of us learned how to wield our family name and fortune to our benefit. Consequences be damned. I can't change the past, or unhurt those who I betrayed. Instead, all I can do is be honest with myself and to you. Refuse to make any more mistakes, and do my best to sort out the various messes we've left behind. So please, fill in the tree, and together we can figure out how to begin to make amends. Good luck, and thank you both. Actually a really nice letter. That was nice. Alright, Carl. Carl, is that right? Clark. Looking back at chat. Okay. I mean, I've always identified the most with Velma. For sure. I'm a nerd. Arrows. Superman, a bad name for you. Gosh, this is gonna be wild. I don't know, that's hard with the original Scooby Gang. The beautiful sounds of dialogue. Alright. Shoot. What did he say when he popped up? He said something about a magazine. It was some kind of Time magazine thing. Okay. Let's see. I guess let's look up 5Ps. 5Ps, aka Felix Fellows, is a rapper who has found some recent radio play after being publicly confirmed as a long-lost root tree and entitled to part of their fortune. His alias, 5Ps, is a play on 5 pieces, an article you find on a website known for their particularly harsh reviews of modern music. Gives his most recent album, Root of All Evil, 1 star out of 7 for whatever reason, with the headline, "More poser than my action figure collection." The review mentions his real name is David, and he used to go by Dirte Davy, and the author rues the fact that this rebranding was a blatant marketing stunt at the expense of his mother's tragic past. She overdosed when she was 16. Apparently, one of the songs on the album is new, and the others were simply rewritten to turn blatant references to sex, drugs, and violence into clumsy euphemisms. His rise to prominence was kick-started when he appeared a few months ago on the cover of News Time, holding a photo of his mother with Guy Hudson. Oh ho ho. At first, the Roottrees company denied it vehemently. Miracle Roottrees even appeared on the same magazine a week later. But since then, they've backtracked and publicly welcomed him to the family. Their press release at the time stated that they had new evidence that confirmed his story. He was Guy Hudson's kid? That's, I guess, not that wild, actually. Guy Hudson seemed not great, if we're being honest. I don't even remember where he was on the tree. I just know that he was one of the presidents. Oh, right. He was the rich president who, almost sent the company under. That guy. Okay. Interesting. Did it say that we are not putting him... Is he gonna be on here or not? Okay. I'm assuming he is gonna be on the tree somewhere. But where is kind of the big question. Okay. Oh my gosh, you're right. He doesn't have any kids with his own wife. Yikes. I know, the person in the middle is really... Hold on. I want to do this because you mentioned listening to his music. No. No. Alright, one more. One more. Okay. Okay, that was interesting. Oops. I'm also gonna look up this one. I just want to make sure we cover all our bases because... Oh, and it doesn't even tell us. Oh wait, News Time. News Time is that, that one that I wanted to... Oh, okay. After dropping the single 5 Ps, announced he'd retained the infamous celebrity lawyer Stevie Whitlock to sue his family. To date, it doesn't seem like he's followed through. At first, the single didn't make much of a splash, but Whitlock, known for publicity stunts, paid thousands of teenagers a few dollars an hour to call and request the video on MTV, which increased its profile. Wow, MTV eventually caught on and banned the video altogether, which in turn received national news coverage and made the song even more popular. Okay, we need to figure out who his mom is. There we go. News Time is a major periodical that releases new issues every week. And we know this. 5 Ps appeared on the cover. Miracle Roottrees appeared on the cover. I feel like Miracle is probably going to be one of the infidelity people. You're so right, Ale. Because of his high-profile back-to-back the high-profile back-to-back discourse. Right before the start of Roottrees Mania, they appeared to be the de facto publication to get news about the ongoing Roottrees saga. They reported record subscriber numbers during this time, which lasted until the end of Roottrees Mania, when the world generally stopped paying much attention and they went back to reporting on more traditional news. Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted. Maccabees. Okay, good. I wanted that. A summary of both articles, as well as a close-up of the photo of 5 pieces holding on the cover of this issue, have been added to your evidence. Oh my lord. They even gave him, like, the lion tattoo and the dragon tattoos. Oh man. Okay. The article concerns his insistence that his father was Guy Hudson. The story was dramatic and sensational, initially dismissed as a fake. We know all this. His mother, Joanna, was Zach Morden's... Oh, that's interesting. 5P says that his mother, Joanna, was Zach Morden's secretary when he retired, and then Guy Hudson's secretary for only 1 or 2 weeks after that before she quit, the first few weeks that he was president. His parents divorced when he was 4, after his father learned of the affair. Felix and his mother then moved to Portland because she was afraid for her and her son's life. He grew up with her until he was 16, but one day his mother never came home from the movie rental store where she worked the register. The next morning they found her dead from an overdose in her car. She had stolen all of the cash from her drawer and spent it on heroin. As Felix went through her belongings, the only things he had to remember her by were a hairbrush she always used, some photos, and a stuffed animal from her childhood. But then he found it, a box hidden in the back of her closet. Inside were love letters and photos related to Guy Hudson, as well as a letter from his father containing threats. He threw it all away with the exception of the one photo he appears with on the cover of Newstime. He says it was the only one where they were dressed, the only one not from the affair itself. The magazine also includes some additional history about 5P's career. Felix Fellows was born to Riley and Joanna Fellows, but has never rapped without a moniker. He tried to find success by opening for other artists and even by selling CDs on street corners in Portland. He has only recently started going as 5P's to harness the power of his lineage. The writer did some research into the truth of these claims and was able to confirm that Joanna did work for the Roottrees Company as a secretary sometime during the early to mid-70s. It also confirmed she died of a drug overdose and that Felix went into foster care soon after. They were unable to track down his father. They also reached out to the Roottrees Company, but at the moment the company's blanket statement was, since the release of a recent book, Roottrees has seen an overwhelming number of false ancestral claims. None have been factual, and nearly all have been knowingly dishonest. We encourage individuals to reach out to us in an official capacity as opposed to attempting to use our name in the media for publicity. That's a pretty fair request, to be honest. He looks like all of your cousins that one. You're so right. Oh my gosh. I know specifically who that especially looks like. Okay. Miracle Roottrees, charlatans and thieves. Oh my gosh, with his reflection in his glasses. He's so dramatic. Miracle Roottrees appeared on the cover of Newstime shortly after 5P's did. He vehemently denied that 5P's was a Roottrees. This article is from before the DNA test. Miracle doesn't focus much on the details of 5P's accusations regarding his mother and Guy Hudson. Instead, he comes across as exhausted at the events that have been going on behind the scenes, as well as the character of those he feels are attacking his family. He starts with 6P's content. He says that although most of the book was based in fact, it left out anything that wouldn't fit the agenda. He points out Sam's daughter still earns a generous salary for overseeing the farm division of Roottrees, and that Sam did the same before her. That Sam's family was not destitute, and that really it was only her son who chose to take on a job with no salary. He claims that though they didn't have to, the family helped pay for her son's medical bills after voting that it was the right thing to do. Miracle also says that the story about his father, Elias, shunning EC was one-sided, leaving out Edward Clancy's blame in the whole thing. Elias gave him a simple ultimatum: stop sinning or be disowned. I hate this man. Guy Hudson was a direct descendant, not married in. Miracle says it was EC's own choice, and that Elias allowing him to earn food and shelter on the company's dime was a kindness, especially considering that he and John continued to live together. Miracle then pivots to the fallout from Six Pieces. He recounts... Oh my gosh, I know, the rainbow tie is so ironic. Miracle then pivots to the fallout from Six Pieces. He recounts a deluge of claims to the Clancy Trust that the family had been subjected to. He doesn't say any specifics, but says that every time someone comes forward, the family devolves into arguments. They've had to hire an outside legal team to help, but so far, every case has been demonstrably, laughably false. All they do is tarnish his family's reputation. He focuses on 5Ps, who appeared on News Time before him. He calls them a grifter and a delinquent, and says he is using their name and products to sell filth to the masses. Of all the accusations, he says this is the most dangerous because it exposes the world to hatred. He cites 5P's lyrics as violent, sexist, and ungodly, and prays the boy will repent, retract his lies, and find religion. Lastly, he turns to the future. Miracle states that those that wish to hear the true story can join him on his farewell tour this upcoming fall. The Miracle's Roottrees are planning on touring the country's churches one last time, and that now at age 71, Miracle is the oldest living Roottrees. Oh, I do not like him. While he plans to continue preaching at his own church in Butler County after the tour, this is your last chance to hear the truth from the man with the most complete recollection of one of America's most notable families in your own hometown. And here's the picture of his mother Joanna and Guy Hudson. I wonder if these people in the background are going to be important. Probably not, since I can't click on them. Alright, that was a lot of reading. Wait. These people are both on the original family tree. I'm assuming that means that one of them had an affair with the spouse of another one. Oh my. Yeah, hopefully. I hope it's not some sort of terrible, yeah. I feel like the guy... I feel like this might have to be Guy Hudson because of these. The only one that would make sense because it was only one kid who hasn't had any additional children. Or gone married would have to be probably this one would be my guess, and this would have to be Guy. Okay, we'll do more looking before I make any for sure. Right. And then I was also gonna look up... Let's see. Oh, right. I wanted to look up this person. Stevie Whitlock is a lawyer with a history of publicity stunts and grandstanding. Still, she's managed to rack up quite a few legal victories for C-list celebrities and athletes. She became famous in the mid-1980s after successfully suing a multinational sandwich company whose 12-inch subs were actually an average of 11.5 inches long. Stevie argued that since the company sold 1 billion sandwiches per year, that was enough missing sandwich to make a sub long enough to span from New York to Los Angeles. The jury awarded her a paltry $5,000, but the news coverage of her crusade turned out to be priceless. Unfortunately, none of this seems related to the Roottrees. Yeah, you don't say. Alright, what other notes did I take here? I wonder if Guy Hudson will bring anything new up. Oh, okay. Guy Hudson, who was only president of Roottrees for a few years in late 70s and early 80s, has mostly faded into obscurity, except for the fancy flavors debacle. During Roottrees mania, he suddenly rose to prominence again after 5Ps appeared on the cover of a magazine holding a photo of Guy and his mother. A few people that existed adjacent to the company in the 70s have come forward with stories about debauchery and swinger parties. Guy liked to throw large holiday parties whenever he had an excuse, and they often got very out of hand. This fact has led some people to speculate that the night he died in a car crash, he was drunk or impaired in some way. But the Butler County Police have released multiple statements and ample evidence that proves decisively that it was not foul play and that no party had taken place. Roottrees lawyers have been quick to threaten litigation to anyone who has tried to disparage Guy or the company in public. Okay. Interesting. I mean, this time frame matches for him too. 1975 to 1982. The rest of them? Oh, 1921. That would be from... Like, we're going way back. Interesting. Okay. Good. Be judgy. I love judgy. Yeah, I think this is gonna be Guy Hudson for sure. Is there deceased? I guess it would be his last known, or his last job position, which was being the third president. Although, but it says current. Yeah, whatever. We'll just throw that in there for now. Oh, actually, I don't think it... Oops. I don't think it liked that. Do unknown, I guess. And then his first affair would have been this lady, who was named Joanna. Oh, they changed it up. Oh, but that would have been her married name. Riley Phillips. She was a cashier. We know that. Oh, I hate that. They're being so mean now. Yeah, we don't know her maiden name yet. I don't think I spelled that right. Oh no, I did, okay. Lucia. Okay. It is hard mode, what the heck? What to heck? I'm assuming if they didn't have any luck finding Riley fellows. Yeah, okay. Okay. Oh, right. And then we know that it was... Ugh, what's his name? Felix Fellows. I don't think rapper specifically is on there, so I guess artist. Okay, I'm sticking by that. I think that's gonna be correct. Yeah, I know. I wish we could get her information. Let's see, where else can we go? Anonymom. I mean, I know that was whatever. Oh, okay. Instead of claiming herself a Rootree, she claimed she'd slept with Guy Hudson and that her daughter was a Rootree. The accusation came during the height of Rootree mania. She disguised herself. She wouldn't use any names. Oh, the day after the News Time article, Sam Madsen publicly supported Anonymom due to some parts of the story she found particularly credible. With the momentum from Sam's endorsement, she went on a media blitz. Ultimately, this backfired. As more details came out, people became skeptical. Oh, her accusation even included many of the same details as his mother's story, including the job being a secretary. But the Roottrees were more prepared to handle all Clansid Trust-related cases this time. Oh, I want to look up the Clansid Trust again and see if anything changed. Within a week, a DNA test proved that there could be no relation. It was announced at a joint press conference with lawyers representing both Anonymom and Roottree. Each party ensured their respective clients provided accurate samples. Immediately after the negative results were released, many of those who had already been skeptical felt vindicated, and others who had built up hope that history could repeat itself after 5Ps felt duped. Many people suspected the whole affair had been a hoax to gain fame and money. Many demanded that Anonymom be held accountable. Some people even began to attempt to track down her true identity. The Roottrees company felt pressure to put out a second statement to try to curb some of the backlash, even going so far as to say, though it was scientifically proven that Jane Doe Roottrees is not a Roottrees, this doesn't mean that her mother and Guy Hudson were not involved in an affair. She had every right to make her claim, as it has been verified that her stories about Guy Hudson were not exaggerations. Please leave their family alone. Many people claim this high-profile anticlimax and public backlash was the beginning of the end. We knew this, since much of the fun was the shared fascination about secret Roottrees. Others think that, like any fad, it just ran its course naturally. Regardless, this was the final notable event related to the release of 6 pieces, and things soon went back to normal. Okay, but I do want to look up her article. An anonymous woman appeared on the cover of News Time holding a picture of her daughter, Jane Doe Roottrees. The first and only mention of the phrase Anonymom in News Time came the week after, when they issued an apology for featuring her in the first place. Okay. Well, this is... Okay. It was determined through DNA test she's not a Roottrees. We know this. Which did refer to her daughter as Jane Doe Roottrees, but did not coin the phrase Anonymom. I just want to make sure we don't miss anything. important. She claimed to have had an affair with Guy Hudson while she was working as a secretary. She and another woman were hired at the same time during the transition period, while many of the secretaries that had worked under Zach Morton were already gone. She says that she and the other woman were both underqualified as neither had typewriter experience. According to other staff members interviewed, Guy had his own requirements for hiring women. Ew. Oh, you're so right. It probably is musician. Okay. Guy Hudson. Guy is so gross. Liked to throw lavish parties, and the longer he was president, the more excuses he found. The anonymous woman posits that these parties have mostly seemed to be an excuse to have other parties at Guy's home, featuring much more alcohol and other substances. She claims she slept with him at one of these after parties. She confronted Guy when she found out she was pregnant. Guy didn't seem fazed, and they came to an arrangement. He paid her a significant amount of hush money on a recurring basis under the table. She used it to move away and start a new life with her daughter. When Guy died, the money stopped coming, and she assumed things had run their course. She went back to work at the department store and hoped that nobody would ever look too closely at how she had paid for her house, and she told everyone that her daughter's father walked out one day and never came back. She claimed that after seeing the fantastic article in News Times, she realized that she wasn't the only one this happened to. While she never worked at the Roottrees company at the same time as Five Pieces' mother Joanna, their stories seemed eerily similar, and she knew Felix was telling the truth right away. The article presented no tangible evidence of the anonymous woman's time at Roottrees, and all the payments were allegedly made in cash. However, using details that she provided to News Time, their reporters were able to reach out to the other woman hired at the same time, who also remained anonymous. They successfully fact-checked the timeline of both women and confirmed the existence of the infamous after-parties. Five Pieces' case was strengthened, and this news story was subsequently published. Okay. Oh, so much reading. I feel like there's more this time. I'm interested in the other woman who was hired at the same time. Okay, so this is a new one. The Clancy Trust is the Roottrees Company's unusual legal arrangement and the motivation for most of their major financial decisions. As a recap, the entire family earns inheritance directly from the profits of the candy company, as well as their sister clothing company, Root. This means that nearly every Roottrees can potentially have a say in the company's high-level operations. Historically, this has caused the family to be slow to approve any major expenditures that could significantly dig into the profits. After the release of Six Pieces by Sam Madsen, the Clancy Trust came under heavy scrutiny. Sam, her children, and her grandchildren should have all been covered under the trust, according to the wording revealed during an internal family conflict between Ron and Robbie Roottrees. It seems that those who wrote the trust, Clancy Edward Roottrees at the direction of Elias Roottrees, purposely deceived the rest of the family about the exact details of how it worked, in an attempt to keep Sam and her father, Edward Clancy, his own twin brother, in comparative poverty. Because the rest of the family made money hand over fist, they had very little motivation to question their understanding. Sam's book revealed this to the public, and it did not go over well. Clark Rafferty LaRue took over the company, and his most celebrated move was his first official one. He ensured Sam's family would get their share. To help facilitate this inheritance aspect of the trust is now under the control of a third party, Ruby Legal Enterprises. This ensures that the financial motivations of Roottrees sorry, let me finish. I'm just highlighting some important stuff. This ensures that the financial motivations of Roottrees family members will not interfere with the investigations into potential new Roottrees. According to Clark's letter, however, some family members are still doing their best to slow the investigation by refusing to answer questions. Whew. Hello. I would like to search him next. He's the new president of the Roottrees Corporation. This does not include Root, which appears to have its own new leadership. I was wondering about that, actually. I'm glad they answered my question. In early March of 1999, about 5 months ago, it was announced that both Clark Rafferty LaRue and Ron Roottrees would be taking over for what was essentially described as a transitional period in the aftermath of Six Pieces. About 2 weeks later, the company released a press statement that thanked Ron for his work, but announced that Clark was the new permanent president. I know. It reminds me so much of Glass Onion. No, not that one. Not that one. The other one. What was the other one that came before Glass Onion in that series? Knives Out. That's the one. Thank you. Yeah. They must hoard their dragons. Okay, most of the information about Clark you already knew. Many descriptions of him tend to focus on his advertising career and that his mother was Lauren Roottrees. Few seem to touch on his complex and volatile marital history. Since taking over, Clark has tried to remain out of the spotlight, but did have one notable foray into the public eye. He gained a lot of support when his first move was a statement in favor of accepting Sam and her family into the trust. This also served as an announcement that the Clancy Trust would no longer be handled by anyone in the family, since due to their financial motivation, none of them could ever be impartial. Okay, this one next. Actually, I want to remember to look up Ron again. $12 sodas coming your way. Ruby Legal Enterprises is the name of the law firm that has been hired by the Roottrees Candy Company. The company is named after its head lawyer, Ruby Spratt. You can't find much about the company from before this year, though all of the articles tell the same tale. After the fiasco of Six Pieces and the revelation that the Roottrees' internal law group was complicit in such a cover-up, they hired outside counsel. The Ruby Legal Enterprise Group now seems to have ties to multiple aspects of the Roottrees Corporation, including the Candy Company and Root. They were recently in the news due to a high-profile lawsuit they raised against Cicely Sanchez. Cicely Sanchez is an author best known for Portrait of a Changed Man, released in 1979. Her follow-up, Foreign Gospel, in 1984, did not perform as well critically, but still sold quite respectably. She has written a few more books since then, including a biography of Van Gogh, but her first two are her claim to fame. According to a site about authors, Cicely is known for her non-fiction, with a focus on exploring darkness in the human psyche. Recently, Cicely appeared in a magazine called Piketty. My God. With an article about a book she had been commissioned to write for Guy Hudson. The magazine and Cicely herself were immediately issued a cease and desist due to its inclusion of pictures that she never had the rights to publish. The issue was pulled from store shelves, making it an instant collector's item. Oh my gosh, there's so much here. There's so much. Do not Google that. Okay, I don't even know where to start. There's so much. Wow. Okay. Let's start with this one. Okay, the book's description has this to say: what if everything you stand for, everything you know to be true today could disappear in an instant, all of your politics, relationships gone in a blink of an eye? What would you do? Cicely Sanchez tells this powerful true story about a man who woke up after being saved from drowning in his backyard pool and became an entirely different person. Included are interviews from those who knew him best before. Okay, that's not helpful. That's fine. Foreign Gospel. Tells the tale of a man from the Catholic Church who claims that he was told by God he should travel to Thailand and begin to preach, specifically with the goal to convert 10,000 people. He returned to the United States after just over 2 years, claiming to have succeeded. This book tells his version of the story, but the author, Cicely Sanchez, also traveled to Thailand to investigate these claims and talk with some of the so-called converted. Okay. Next, we're gonna add this to our... Excuse me. No. Come back here. Piketty Magazine. There we go. That was just rude. Right. Okay, Piketty Magazine is a publication that, as far as you can tell, has no consistent theme. It tends to contain tabloid-esque articles that appeal to a wider variety of audiences and appears in many grocery stores near the checkout line. We all know that kind of magazine. Unlike traditional tabloids, it doesn't typically feature celebrities on the cover. Instead, it tends to latch onto and create sensationalist headlines about whatever subject appears to be popular at any given time. In recent years, this has included, Beanie Babies, magic eye images, and even Red Bull. It has often come under fire for printing fiction along with facts. Piketty gets around this by stating in every issue that all of its articles are all the hearsay that's fit to print. At one point, Piketty ran an article about Cicely Sanchez, an author. She claims to have written an unread book about Guy Hudson. The article was not even the main focus of the issue, yet the magazine was threatened legally by the Roottrees Corporation. This particular issue, the Big Sass Sea Bass issue, was pulled from shelves. It has now become a collector's item, especially amongst conspiracy theorists attempting to figure out what the Roottrees company was hiding. You find a recently finished online auction that listed a copy at over $1,000, though nobody bid. Big Sass Sea Bass. What? Is a talking fish. I don't know if we can buy. It's a talking fish that sits on a fake mount on your wall. When you press the button and speak to it, it mimics your voice and then insults you. Many people consider it a ripoff of a more popular wall-mounted communication-based fish decoration, but the packaging makes it clear that this one does not sing. Do you guys remember those singing fish on those wall mounts that would wiggle around? Billy Bass. I did not remember the name. Let's see. None of this is helpful. Recently appeared on the cover of Piketty Magazine in the same issue that a Roottrees-related article appeared. That issue was removed from stores after the Roottrees sued the magazine. Okay, that's fine. Did it? Piketty did get added. Okay, and we wanted to look up in it Cicely Sanchez. There we go. An issue that focused on talking toy fish and the demonic messages it supposedly said as the batteries ran low. Piketty... That's a wild. Piketty had an article about a canceled book by Cicely Sanchez. Because of the pictures... Let's see. Look at that picture, Basil Bub. Could this popular gift be filling homes with satanic messages? Absolutely incredible. You had several of the singing wrigglefish? Actually, that does not surprise me. Wow. This is literally just the exact same information over again. Is there a way to get that article? I don't know. I'm sure at some point. Oh right, I wanted to look up this lady. Ruby Spratt and her legal company is relatively elusive. The most complete source of information you can find from before her time with the Roottrees is from the website for a magazine owned by a major airline. She was the subject of one article from a recurring series about modern-day success stories. She grew up in foster care but excelled at school and earned a scholarship to study at Mideastern University. I have learned not to underestimate literally any piece of information. There she graduated at the top of her legal class and was quickly hired as a lawyer for a prominent firm. There are a few high-profile corporate-involved cases she was a part of. One was a legal consultant for a class-action lawsuit against a manufacturer of steering wheel covers. Another was to help a local gas station chain in her hometown of Portland with the rollout of a promotion that allowed gas station customers the ability to bet on the price of gas. The blurb ends by calling her new firm a double threat. Her company's services are a cross between a traditional lawyer and a PR manager. Hello, Spider Search. Mideastern University is a notable private college that advertises itself as midway between Maine and Miami. Their mascot is the Spectres, though they are not known for their sports programs as much as their education. Is there anything worth reading here? Oh, they have a newspaper. Which is a combination of Hedera, the scientific name for ivy, and Herald. Their website boasts that they have a historical technology museum on campus, including a still functioning computer from the 1960s that takes up a full room. They also have a printing press that they use to print one special year-end issue of the Herald each year. Ha, new periodical. The Herald is the school newspaper of Mideastern University. It appears to be available in your periodical archive. Okay, we're getting there. What was that woman's name? Ruby Spratt. Ruby Spratt graduated at the top of her class from the Mideastern's legal college. Her valedictorian speech was somewhat controversial at the time, as it was quite serious, with a heavy focus on wealth inequality. This didn't go over well with the predominantly middle to upper class audience in attendance. The editor of the Herald at the time said Ruby, unsatisfied by simply earning her place at Mideastern with a full scholarship, went on to earn a captive audience of her peers with a perfect GPA. It felt like the ideal occasion for celebration and an undoubtedly incredible individual. However, by the end of her speech, there were many in the audience that wished that neither of those events had transpired. It was a passionate attempt to use her soapbox to proselytize her fellow students and their parents into the religion of poverty. But unfortunately, judging by the silence, they remained unconverted. That's interesting. I feel like she's gonna continue to be important somehow. Okay. Who else? Oh, I wanted to look up Ron Roottrie again. Ron was announced as president of Roottrie during the Roottrie Rift, but the next press release immediately reversed the announcement and instead stated that Ron and Clark would take over. A few weeks later, Ron was dropped from the title entirely. There are hundreds of results about this development, but most articles are retelling of basic details. Some veer into heavy speculation based on an article about Ron in Business Watch. Let me copy. Control-C. Ron has also done some interviews saying that the truth of what went on behind the scenes is not something he wishes to discuss. Instead, he hopes to release a movie about it someday. 3 weeks ago, Ron's mother, Gwen, died in Paris, France. He and his brother Robbie have seemingly made amends. Business Watch? Is that the one? The fish, the secret book, some Roottrees spit. This chat is wild. Portland, like Joanna? Okay. We'll come back to some of those thoughts about spitting and trees. Business. Don't look at me like that. Business Watch ran an article about 2 months after the Roottrees rift about Business Watch ran an article about 2 months after the Roottrees rift about what really happened with Roottrees. The article mentions that nobody from Roottrees that they reached out to was willing to go on the record. Instead, the timeline of events has been constructed from public record, accidental leaks, and a source on the inside. The only parts that are new to you are also the most vague parts, the ones supposedly confirmed by their anonymous source. The timeline says that the family actually held a preliminary vote after Carl Roottrees died, but before the release of 6 pieces, and decided they wanted Ron Roottrees to take over because of his experience running RR Productions, and because he was a well-known and well-respected Roottrees. But Ron seemed way too eager and personally motivated. They were worried he would gut the Clancy Trust to remove Robbie Roottrees. The family was notoriously unwilling to do anything that could risk their wealth. They stalled, and Ron became frustrated with the delay. When 6 pieces came out, he saw his chance to force action while the family was in the limelight, and released the press release himself in an attempt to get the ball rolling faster. That is so shady. This caused chaos within the family. They tried to save face by allowing Ron to take over as co-president with Clark, but according to Business Watch's source, Ron was impossible to deal with. He seemed like he was unwilling to protect the Clancy Trust, and they eventually let him go. After that, the role passed solely to Clark, who nobody was excited about, but seemed like the safest choice. That's a little mean. What is she going by? Hold on. Maybe under Samantha. Sam. Sam. That's. Sam Madson's book was released earlier this year and details the truth about Elias Roottrees, as well as Sam's fathers, Edward Clancy Roottrees and John Miller. You hope to verify your story, so much of the book's core contents are familiar to you. That said, Sam had some sections on other family secrets and rumors. Much of it didn't matter to the primary purpose of the book, and some of it is new to you, and may be important to your new search. These sections have been added to your notes. Ayy. Unwrapping America's Sweetest Family. Sam's book has a few different passages about her own history with the company and the rumors and gossip she collected during that tenure. She ran the farm for a period starting around 1968, after the death of Elias Roottrees, until her daughter Gwyneth took over in 1984. Most of the relevant rumors coincide with the reign of Guy Hudson, who took over as president in 1978. Sam was very much not a fan of Guy, and according to 6 pieces, it was an open secret within the family that Guy was very much not a fan of remaining faithful to his wife, Patricia. Many of their hires at the time were young single women, and Guy often spent a lavish amount of money on private parties. This was 20 years ago, and Sam warns that most of it is hearsay. Still, you find the following information that may be relevant. One of Sam's farm supervisors was named Elizabeth. Elizabeth had a daughter who Sam never met, but who worked as one of Guy's secretaries. According to Elizabeth, a caterer from a local restaurant called Antonellis, that sounds familiar, met her daughter at one of Guy's parties, and they eloped quickly due to a pregnancy. Elizabeth wasn't aware that the party was for swingers. Rumor has it that her daughter showed up with Guy and didn't seem comfortable switching partners. Okay. Guy's main positive contribution to the company involved expanding to markets previously untapped by Roottrees. However, when he went on trips overseas, they were often for weeks at a time, and Guy was known for spending more time and money on unofficial business than meetings with distributors and manufacturers. It was said that he bribed at least one politician to open a factory in Brazil. There's also a section where Sam speculates that Elias may have also cheated on Gwyneth. Gwyneth was always much kinder to Sam than Elias was, and was the first to invite Sam to family events. While she has no hard evidence, Sam always got the impression that Gwyneth was able to coerce Elias into allowing Sam back into the family using some kind of leverage, instead of it being a natural course of events. She mentioned that Elias and Gwyneth were known to loudly argue, sometimes about another woman. Sam also says her son, Ernie, once asked her, "Who's Beth?" "Elizabeth!" Because she overheard them yelling about someone with that name. As far as Sam knows, Elias once had a secretary named Elizabeth, a different Elizabeth than the supervisor from the farm, but she never met her. Oh my goodness. I knew it. I knew it, Elias Roottree, you rascal. Elizabeth something. Okay. Let's do this search really quick. We need to use a more local resource. Butler County Times. Oh. Antonellis is an Italian restaurant, and it has been in the Butler County Times twice. Most recent time was when it closed in 1992. The owner, Rochelle Zimmer, sold the land the building was on. And at the time of the article, she was unsure if the restaurant would move to a new location or if she would retire. Many years before that, there's a puff piece from Valentine's Day 1978 that asked recently married residents of Butler County how they met. Ooh. Christine Garland responded. She and her husband Steve, who was a chef at Antonelli's, or Antonelli's is probably how that's pronounced, since it's an Italian restaurant. Antonelli's met years ago when she delivered produce from her mother's farm. There's so much. There's so much. Steve used to work extra hours just to be there during her deliveries. Although they grew apart when the restaurant switched suppliers, they reconnected by chance and eloped at the end of last year. Now she has a bun in the oven, and they're both working as much as they can. She's a secretary, but went back to delivering produce on the weekends, trying to save up money to move to Boston and open their own restaurant. Oh my lord. Okay. Okay. Brain short-circuiting. So, It feels likely that Christine Garland is the daughter that Elizabeth, farmhand Elizabeth, is referring to. Right? That feels possible. I feel like that's possible. She's the secretary. And then she eloped. And that was also referred to. Here. The caterer from the local restaurant. Okay, yeah, that's... Okay. Which would be another one of Guy's affairs. 1978. I guess that would be this one, because there weren't multiple children. Oh, but she did get married, actually. Oh my gosh, there's so much. Hold on. Hold on. We need to highlight this. Rochelle Zimmer. I don't know if she's going to be important or not, but 1978. Christine Garland. Would that be a later affair then? Because there's gotta be... There's the husband. Maybe. Oh, don't talk about cinnamon buns. Cinnamon roll. Okay, what was her name? Christine Garland. She married... Oh, wait, but her last name actually isn't going to be Garland. That's her married name. Okay. She what? Okay, well, we're supposed to do their last known. Okay, for the occupations, are we supposed to be doing it the same way we did before, or are we trying to do the occupation they had at the time of the affair this time? I'm not sure. Occupation, bun in oven. Yeah, the rain is lovely. It's so relaxing. I'm not sure. I guess we'll go with... Oh yeah, she's a secretary, but is also delivering produce on the weekends to save up to move to Boston. Oh my goodness. Okay, there's so much. Nothing. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. I'm actually okay with that for once. Okay. Oh, Steve Garland is mentioned in a couple of articles. The first was an article about how he met his wife Christine when they worked at Antonelli's. The second is from months later, in September of 1978, a listing for his weekend cooking classes, Gourmet for the Groovy. The blurb mentions that he has been giving lessons from his home kitchen for the last month so that he can keep an eye on his son. The third was from 1991 and is titled Local Author Sued by Former Butler County Resident. It seems that a local author by the name of Mark Zimmer was sued by Garland after Garland saw Zimmer promoting his book Kitchen Tales on television. His recipe book was partially plagiarized from the recipes that Steve Garland would give his students during his cooking lessons before he moved. I feel like we saw that name before. Oh, Rochelle Zimmer. Oh. Oh, interesting. The article mentions that although recipes are hard to copyright, Garland accompanied each recipe with a short fiction about how he learned it. These usually doubled as a way to remember certain ingredients. Garden's bean salad, for example, involved making a trade with a gnome for some magic beans. Apparently these stories were found word for word in Zimmer's cookbook, in addition to additional stories that followed the same format. Rochelle and her husband Mark Zimmer have a few mentions in the Butler County Times. Both were local business owners. Rochelle owned Antonelli's, an Italian restaurant, and Mark owned a local bookstore called Bookmarks. Mark was also mentioned once when he was sued by Steve Garland. It appears in the County Times many times. All of them were in the form of advertisements and listings. None of it seems relevant to a current search. Although Lauren Roottrees did do a book signing in 1970. Interesting. Oh, there we go. Kitchen Tales was a story-based recipe book credited to Mark Zimmer that had some success after it was featured on a morning talk show. Real quick. Wait, what? Okay, we'll look that up in here then. The book released before the internet was widespread, so mentions are rare. One book collector states that the publishers were unprepared for the demand and that there was no second printing, so it's unusual to find a copy in the wild. You find an alternative medicine website which focuses on cooking with natural ingredients. It mentions that one of Kitchen Tales' recipes used salt water. The owner of the site has included a scan of that recipe, which was added to your evidence. She says if you switch out the salt water in the recipe for a mix of 2/3 spring water and 1/3 filtered seawater, it tastes great. Oh, a cookbook credited to Garland and Zimmer. It was released in 1994. It was actually quite successful after the duo had appeared to promote it on the daytime talk show. There have been multiple printings since. According to a book review, the recipes are accompanied by stories that help the reader remember the ingredients. Oh, what was his name? It was... Oh wait, I need to fix it back to, Garnishing the Truth by Garland and Zimmer. Taking. There we go. The introduction of this book is a series of acknowledgements from Steve. The first is, Christine, thank you for everything. Your support means the world to me. You are the apple of my eye. The second is to James and Robert. You've become amazing men and incredible chefs. I guess I'm a good teacher. You've become amazing. Okay. The final is to Mark Zimmer. You proved my storytelling approach to recipes could be popular. Without you, this book couldn't exist. There's also a foreword by Mark Zimmer. I first met Steve in 1978 when he taught a cooking class. The next time I saw him was over a decade later, when he was suing me for stealing his recipes. Yes, really. So you might wonder what I'm doing in this introduction. Well, it turns out that Steve and I had more in common than we thought. Instead of settling in court, we settled it at McCarran's Brew House over a game of darts. So much. They said they'd give us the drink of the free night for an entire year for mentioning them. Oh, the first drink of the night free for an entire year. By the end of the game, he and I agreed we'd both rather make a ton of money together than spend a ton of money on lawyers. It's pretty rare to meet your best friend so late in life, but when I decided to retire, I moved to Boston just so we could hang out. So if you're browsing this book in a bookstore, please buy our book. We need more money for when the free beer runs out, and the bookstore could probably use the sale. Alright, cool. So they ended up being... And they were roommates. That's what I'm going with, at least. Karen's Brew House. Let's see. A pub in Boston. They have a website. Apparently the bar has been around a long time. Famous people who visited the to have a drink there. The former president of the United States, not the Roottrees Company, Kennedy. There's also a few listings of television shows and books that have mentioned the Karens, as well as how they came up. One of them is Garnishing the Truth, which the site has this to say about. Local and regular Stevie G wrote a book about food. We prefer cocktails, but he gave us a shout out, and we ain't gonna say no to free press. So grab a bite at his kids' joint, Fry Die, and then swing by to meet him for a drink. Ugh. Fry Die is a fairly popular restaurant in Boston. They don't have a website, but many locals seem to mention it in various places. For one more in-depth review explains it's not a full restaurant, just a front door and a very small interior with a window. Unusually, the restaurant only serves vegetables, but a lot of reviews say that in spite of that, it's delicious. You find a short story about it listed on a website called My Boston Homepage. Whoever runs this page seems to just link to random sites related to Boston, tell personal anecdotes related to Boston, and give their relatively short opinions on things in Boston. It's very unorganized. It has this to say about Fry Die. Wicked overrated. I saw it in Chef's Signature. So I went, and there was a huge line and they didn't have a single meat dish. What's even the point? Someone with eclectic tastes. They claim to rate things on a scale from wicked awful to wicked wicked. That's very Boston. The most recent thing to receive a wicked awful was an antique store called These Things. Apparently the owner, Beatrice, is not very friendly. The more recent establishment to receive a wicked wicked is a comic book store in Cambridge called the Millionaire Picnic. As far as you can tell, nothing besides Fry Die seems to be connected to your search in any way. I'm fine with that, to be perfectly honest. Thank you. Oops, I didn't mean to open that. Okay, Chef's Signature, and we're looking for Fry? What was it? No. Finally. Oh my lord. Chef's Signature covered Fry Die less than a year ago, right around the time you were doing your initial investigation. Each article in Chef's Signature tends to focus on a restaurant, and like the magazine's name implies, each restaurant lists the one main dish that the head chef is known for. Fry Die's signature is the samosa cone. Okay. Okay, this is... This is so long, and I don't think it's relevant. Okay, I feel like there's probably gonna be some kind of... I think... Yeah, I think it's gonna be a... We're gonna come back to it. I think it's gonna be a, metaphor that kind of tells their story a little bit, and probably includes evidence of the affair in some way. Okay, so the Garland boys, James and Robert Garland. I was incorrect. There were 2 children. Go away. Stephen Garland, Christine something. Christine, Stephen Garland. I think that was right, Stephen. And then we have James and Robert. I'm assuming. Okay. Chef's Signature, nationally published magazine targeted towards fans of unusual restaurants, featured James and Robert Garland on the cover of their November 1998 issue. According to the article, the 2 brothers own a small walk-up window in Boston called Fry-Dye, a play on the tie-dye shirts that the servers wear that exclusively serves vegetarian dishes. I am assuming for the time being, thank you for noticing, Ale. I'm gonna go back and see if I can find mention somewhere in all of the things that we have read so far about her first child, if it's ever mentioned. I think it might have been... Oh no, it just said his son. Okay. Most of the offering... We'll figure it out. Most of the offerings are heavily inspired by the powerful spice found in Thai and Indian food. Their signature dish is the samosa cone, which from a distance somewhat resembles a traditional ice cream, complete with waffle pattern. Instead, it contains fried potatoes, pureed peas, carrots, and a special ginger-based sauce. Robert, who is 3 years younger than James. Good, it's in order. Jokes that although... There has been so much information. It's like rapid fire. Before it felt like I could search things and it was so hard to find anything. And this time it feels like all I'm doing is finding more. And I'm sure part of that is just my experience from the first part of the game. But wow. Robert, who is 3 years younger than James, jokes that although the age difference has left him delegated to wear the sous chef jacket his whole life, he doesn't mind. As a result, James answers most of the interview's questions. James credits his love for food and his culinary skills to their upbringing. Most kids ate vegetables growing up, but they don't have parents like we did. My father was a chef, and my mother grew up on a farm that supplied his restaurant. That's how they met. I don't have any memories from the farm or anything like that since we moved here before I could even talk, but they told me stories. My dad's a great storyteller. He even wrote a book that partially helped fund Friday. When we moved, they were looking to open their own restaurant together. Unfortunately, they never got it off the ground. His line cook gig ended up being less temporary than he hoped, and she had to go back to work as a secretary even after Robert was born. Before we were old enough to go to school, we spent our days with my aunt. In the diner where he worked, my dad had no room for experimenting, so he'd exercise his skills at home on his days off. We'd always go shopping and cook as a family on those days, and even though we were hyper kids running around and causing a ruckus, those were some of our family's favorite memories since we were all together. Mom always had the eye for the best vegetables for him to work with, and she did her best to pass that on to us. According to the article, their parents, who are now retired, visit Friday often. They even have a signature dessert, the Sistine apple. Apple pie has always been my mom's favorite, and my dad always had this stupid line he used to make her laugh involving apple pie. Most people realize it's a Sistine Chapel pun and assume that's all there is to it, but it's actually secretly named after them, sort of. Sistine Chapel. Okay. 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 I'm assuming her last name is... Oh, God. Are you serious? Sistine Chapel. Is there something that rhymes with... Yeah. And then I'm assuming Chapel is somehow related to her last name. I don't know. None of that stood out to me. Newton, the apple. Maybe. Maybe. That's clever. It could be Newton. I'm willing to roll with that. I think that's a really good... And then we can change it later if that ends up being wrong. I'll highlight that. It's a stretch, but I think it's funny. Okay. Let's put their pictures in. Oh wait, and it said who was pictured where, right? Well, he looks younger. Oh, but he says delegated to wear the sous chef jacket. So actually, I think this is Robert, probably. Because he's wearing the jacket. How have we not gotten enough to lock anybody in? Oh, key relatives. Those are key. Those are key. I think the red circly things. Does that mean we got them in the wrong spot? 1978. I feel like that would have been around that time. I feel like we had something else. I know there was stuff about it. You are the apple of my pie. There's a mention of it. You are the apple of my pie. Yeah, I first met Steve in 1978. So I feel like it couldn't have been his last affair that he had. Alright. We did slap Elizabeth on there. We're guessing on the name. Oh, right. We can put in secretary. We don't have a picture for her yet. But she's not technically a key family member. These two should be the key family members. But I think it's interesting that... And, like, this is the only place that that would make sense. Because they're still married. Sorry, that's my line of reasoning there. Unless I have it wrong. Married. No, that seems too complicated. Oh, they have a dedicated John Doe in there. Yeah, I don't think it's related to that one. That's the only place it makes sense to me. And that it would be Guy, since it was at one of his parties. It would mean that at least James is one of Guy's kids. I feel like Robert could definitely be not, because it was just like a one-time affair, it sounds like, at a swingers party, and she ended up pregnant. But if she also then ended up with Steven, I think that would be kind of the question. So I don't think it's likely that Robert is one of his kids. And yeah, it shows that there's a line here showing at least one of the kids was theirs, and then one of the kids was Guy's. So I don't know, the only other thing I can possibly think of is that it doesn't go in birth order this time for some reason. And that instead it would go, like they would be switched to follow the... Okay. We're just gonna put him back in there as the third president. I wish this would tell me... I feel like that's wrong. Okay, well, let's take a look at this very long recipe. How to bake a plated loaf. For years, two bakers, Flora and Yates, flirted. They grew their friendship, compared recipes, and combined knowledge. She loved his salt and pepper beard. He adored her rosemary cheeks. They thought sweetly about one another. But he was one day whisked away, conscripted to bake the army's bread. By the oil of the lamp, Flora's tears began to salt her bread. The recipe asks the reader to combine flour, yeast, sugar, olive oil, and rosemary. Combine the salt and water together and add the mixture and whisk the dough until the dough begins to form. Yeah, I'm hoping... I wish that it would update in the corner to let me know, but I guess it wouldn't do that because that would kind of give it away if I was getting stuff right or not. It was 10 to 12 years later that they met again, seemingly by fate. Flora's unique dough had earned her a position as the king's personal baker. Yates had found success as well. He baked for the kingdom's 45 diplomats. One day they returned from the Dutch Isles with a gift, 450 unbaked loaves, and they were sent to the palace bakery to teach a method that required no kneading. Allow the dough to proof for 10 to 12 hours, then spread it out and let it sit for 45 minutes. Okay, yeah. Next, prepare a Dutch oven. Upon seeing Yates, Flora was both delighted and distraught. She felt as if she was torn in two. She had not been made aware of the gift, and had already prepared buns for the palace ovens. She wished to greet Yates warmly, but was struck by fears that he'd be unable to bake with her, that she'd face retribution for being unprepared. She cried to Yates, adding more salt, yeah, it's a metaphor, to her dough. Cut the dough into 2 equal pieces and lightly sprinkle salt across the top of only one of them. Yates eased her pain. He insisted she had no obligation to prepare for a return she thought impossible, but he shared her fear of retribution. He knew if they did not solve her predicament, they'd miss their final chance to bake together. In the end, instead of wallowing in the present, they worked together to shape the future. They twisted and entwined their doughs and baked them as one. Thus was born the plated loaf. Word quickly spread of this new delight. The king's decree on royal parchment was that it would be considered a delicacy. Roll and twist and wrap around the inside of the Dutch oven atop parchment. Bankrolled by the king, Flora and Yates spent their days baking together. They traveled for 45 years, then settled down for 15 more. Their souls were golden with no regrets. Okay, yeah, so definitely feels like a metaphor for, yeah, their situation. However, I'm not sure what clues exactly we're supposed to take from this. The Dutch Isles? Maybe that means something? Are the names? Yeah, I agree. The salt and pepper beard, I feel like, is definitely going to be important. And also her rosemary cheeks, which is a very interesting descriptor for cheeks. I'm trying to figure out what the second... I guess maybe the salt and pepper beard would be the other clue that we need to know. I know, rosemary is green, that's why... I mean, I guess it has little flowers that are kind of pinky purple, but it's still a little weird. Yeah. I can't think of any other important... Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay. Okay. And maybe it's just that, the salt and pepper beard and the rosemary cheeks. Maybe those are the two things. Okay. Why did I highlight this? Chef's signature. That doesn't actually seem helpful at all. Okay. What else have we learned? Oh, chef's signature was the was the article. Okay. I can't imagine this being important, but yeah, okay. All right. What else do we have? What else were we looking into? Oh, right. Mark and Rochelle Zimmer. I don't think they're going to be important because there was no mention of a child. And Elizabeth kind of ends up not being important because we figured out her daughter was Christine. Nothing. All right. What was her mom's name? Elizabeth? Elizabeth. Newton. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's probably not Newton, but... Oh, the restaurant name. Could that be... Well, they were going to start a restaurant, but then they were never able to, was what this said. They were looking to open their own restaurant together. Unfortunately, they never got it off the ground. Most people realize it's a Sistine Chapel pun and assume that's all there is to it. But it's actually secretly named after them, sort of. Apple pie has always been my mom's favorite. Okay, yeah, so that's just a reference to you're the apple of my pie thing. Okay. Who owns Antonelli's? That was the Zimmers, I believe. Yeah, Rochelle Zimmer owned it. And she's married to the Zimmer who is best friends with Steve Garland. Yeah. I know, there's so much information. Karen's Brew House. I think we did look that up already. Yeah, we did. And that's where we got Friday from. Oh, and we've already looked at Garnishing the Truth, which is this. Yeah, that's it. That's all there really is about them that I can find so far. Guy Hudson. Who else did you sleep with at your parties? Your debauchery. Is there any other hints in here? I wonder if Patricia comes up in a search now. What was his last name? Guy Madsen? Oh, Hudson. Patricia Hudson. No. Yeah, his subordinates for sure. It's really gross. Yeah, it's irrelevant. Okay. Oh, his wife died with him. Okay. In 1982. Okay. Yeah, so they never had children. But apparently he might have had at least five children by other people. I'm curious about Elias Roottrees and his affair. Oh, I'm also curious about Miracle a little bit. I feel like maybe he had an affair or something. I feel like his name is coming up way too often for there to not be a little something something there. Right, literally. It is well known that he is a terrible person. However, can I, like, pick up their pictures from here again? Or do I have to, like, go back into... Oh, we have a new article about them. Elias and Gwyneth Roottrees were never really celebrities, but the general public's perception of them as classic faces associated with the Roottrees Candy Company had always been in somewhat high regards. This was Elias's intention as a family man with his family brand. Since Six Pieces, the candy company has placed much less of an emphasis on Elias as a historical brand-connected figure, but there have also been those who've argued that it was his right to decide how to split his inheritance and that he did nothing wrong. This has led to some heated television exchanges and countless op-eds. The first Anderson Maple Farm only used to be a popular tourist attraction during the summer months when it had special tours. However, it has since seen an explosion of off-season business as some religious and political groups decided to visit to show support for Elias and Gwyneth's traditional values and financial rights. This rise in support was in turn followed by pickets from gay rights activists when some particularly inflammatory organizations made their pilgrimages. Amongst all this conflict, the farm has since shut down, seemingly indefinitely. The website says, "Check back later," but has no date listed. The quotes from Bess Williams' book appear to have been taken down. Interesting. Okay. I was hoping to get another picture of him, but they don't seem to want to give me that. Nothing new. This is also nothing new. Do we have anything new about actually, I wonder if there's anything about like her dad's now. No, okay. Okay, for sure nothing. Maybe John Miller? No, okay. Fine, I guess. I highlighted the word Brazil for whatever good that's gonna do. Yeah, I didn't think so. Oh, and we already did these. We looked up all these. Looked up all this. Looked up all that. Did we look up this guy? Or girl? Oh yeah, that was the lawyer. Okay, who else can we look up from the past that might give us more information? Oh, we can put in a new picture for Clark Rafferty. I saw another person who we can... Oh, Zach. Really? Interesting. Hasn't been updated. Okay. Seriously. Give me more about them. I don't know. Ray, I appreciate you peeking in to let us know you're there. 1998 is also very interesting because that implies there is like a current ongoing affair, or that somebody had a kid, or that one of these people had a child. Actually, that could also be what's happening there, is that there was a new child added to the family legitimately by one of these couples, which would be interesting. Like, why does Chris Rafferty have a new picture spot? Really? Yeah, it's just a marriage symbol. No affair. You're right, actually. The Stephanie Landon was pregnant. You're so smart. Brian Jones might give us more. There we go. It seems Brian Jones has been busy updating Stephanie Jones' campaign website. 2 new sections exist. That was so smart, Eros. 2 new sections exist. The first is baby photo. There you see a picture of their new family together in the hospital. According to the site, her daughter was named after her grandmother, which ended up being very fitting considering she was born the night before Christmas. The second is what's next? There is not much of substance there right now, but it lists some small accomplishments and finishes with the recent rise in popularity and controversy surrounding my extended family, there has been some extra attention on me. Stay tuned for announcements in the coming months about how I plan to use this publicity to accomplish bigger and better things. A thumbs up. Okay, nice. We can fill this in. Not that it's important, really, but, I'll fill in there. Okay, she's in politics. This is a baby. Okay, her name was Stephanie Landon Brian Jones. Stephanie Landon. Oh! Bring me back there. Okay, we're doing good, guys. I'm feeling better now. No! Quit interrupting me.
Has Clark reached out to you? Well, let me give you a short history lesson about the last few months of my life.
Oh, please, let me know, Sam. Tell me.
3 different people contacted me, claiming that somewhere in their history, they might be Roottrees. First, that young man, the rapper. I ignored that one. He seemed dubious. But then I saw the news. I felt terrible. So I began helping the others. Because my doubts with Felix were so misfounded, I ended up putting too much faith in the second person that approached me. I went to the media prematurely. I admit my mistake there. But the third person who contacted me also had a credible case. Before I could help, the company got to them somehow. The fact that the family silenced them doesn't seem to fill me with hope when it comes to Clark's intentions.
Ray sees a gilf and immediately just back to trees and spitting.
But you're making progress based on the leads he gave you. It's really hard for me to get a read on him. I'll let you handle it. I've sent you the case I've been working on, and some company records I managed to track down. The records are quite dense, but hopefully they're useful. Good luck.
Usually I'd be excited to hear that, but quite dense feels, overwhelming. Okay, Brian Jones. And baby was named after the shoot. What did it say? Named after her grandmother. So Caroline? Or Eloise? They said very fitting considering she was born the night before Christmas. Are they talking about Eloise? Like, yeah, remember Caroline is with Eloise. Caroline and Eloise are married. Like Eloise, like Christmas. Isn't there an Eloise book? Oh, Carol. Carol. Okay. So we're thinking the baby's name is Carol? Jones. Okay. Cool. That feels good. Alright. Now, it is late, and we have to be up kind of early in the morning. So. Occupation, baby. Yeah, it does. It's so funny. This photo was given to you by Sam Madsen. A woman named Regina Clementine came to her and claimed that her husband has confessed he thinks he's a Roottrees. The details of this case can be found in your evidence. Stuart is the older boy wearing a vest. The woman in the photo is Mary Beth Clementine, a singer who may have had an affair with Miracle Roottrees. Knew it. Yep. This is all the information I have about Regina Clementine. Oh, Oh, they're just giving me her maiden name. Thank you, game. I know, it's bedtime. I'm just, we've got like 2 minutes. I'm just peeking. I'm just taking a little look, priming the wheels for next time. It's a puzzle game. I'm addicted. Don't roll your eyes. Two more minutes won't keep me up. Exactly. I need to be able to sleep on it. I always process things best after a night's sleep, so. I'm just skim reading really quick as we wrap up the night. Singer who went on tour to a lot of churches. Oh, big proponent of adoption. I know for a fact she came to Butler County a few times. I remember her from when I was younger. Regina said that Stuart told her that they always seemed to spend a lot of time at the Miracle Church. Interesting. Please consider saving a tree and not printing this email. It is printed, and it is in my hands. That is wild. So is the guy in the back then supposed to be like her husband or something? Interesting. Or is that supposed to be Miracle? I doubt it. Miracle is very blonde. Okay. It's time. That's just a creeper. That's just some guy. Don't worry about him. Pay no attention to the man in the background. Okay, you guys. It's bedtime. We have to do stuff tomorrow. Have a so good night. Happy weekend. We made it for those of you who celebrate weekends and don't work on them. I will see you on the next stream.